Welcome to the Ticktective podcast and video series, a program of the Bay Area Lyme Foundation, where our mission is to make Lyme disease easy to diagnose and simple to cure. I'm your host, Leah Gertner, Director of Education and Outreach. Lyme disease is the most common vector-borne disease in the USA and is a global issue. This show includes interviews with the researchers we fund, as well as other interesting people in the Lyme scientific community. We are a nonprofit foundation based in Silicon Valley. Thanks to a generous grant that covers all of our overhead, 100% of all donations go directly to support research and prevention programs. You can find out more or donate at bayarealyme.org. Welcome to the Ticktective podcast and video series, Tommy Hilfiger.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Tommy Hilfiger is a film producer, fashion designer, businesswoman, reality TV star, and author of the book Bite Me, which chronicles her extensive experience with tick-borne diseases. She is also a philanthropist, activist, mother, and a wife. Tommy, in your book Bite Me, your father, famed fashion designer Tommy Hilfiger, said this about his perspective as a parent of you, a Lyme patient. There is an old saying that you are only as happy as your children, and when I began to see my daughter in pain, I was in pain. From the time she was 10 or so, she went to doctor after doctor and yet couldn't find out what was wrong. It was difficult to endure. I wished it were happening to me instead of my sweet little girl. I wanted to believe that at some point we would find a cure or a way to help her heal from the pain that seemed to get worse. But instead, the medical community continued to misdiagnose my daughter. I felt helpless and, to be honest, even hopeless at times. How does it feel to hear that quote that's in your book from your father at this point?
Well, I have a lot of compassion for what he went through as a parent, since I'm a parent now. And I think I held on also to a lot of guilt for making him feel so worried, even though it wasn't my fault. There was still this, he didn't want me to be in pain. I didn't want him to be in pain. The whole situation was just very unfortunate and really sad. I think I'm happy now that I'm able to be in such a place in my life where he's so happy and relieved and proud of where I am. And so am I, really.
So you did the hardcore pharmaceuticals, you worked on eliminating the bugs, the Babesia and the Borrelia Lyme, and then you needed to support your immune system and try to recover from the damage that these drugs cause on the body.
That the Lyme disease caused, that the Babesia caused, was all of it combined. And I needed extra support in a more natural way.
And so you used Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, meditation, yoga, all of those things.
Herbs, a lot. I mean, the meditation was just great to just be able to get through it, I think.
And I know you had a gratitude practice, or that's a part of your life.
Yeah, still do that every day. I think it's really important. I mean, just something as simple as waking up in the morning and writing down 5 things you're grateful for. And then before you go to bed, writing down like the 3 huge, amazing things that you were grateful for that day. It might be that you saw a bird on a tree. It might be that your best friend called you. I mean, whatever it is, going to bed and waking up with that energy is, I think, I think your body really just responds to that.
And you keep that up?
I do.
And do you teach it to your daughter?
Yes. Before we go to bed, I have her say, thank you for giving me health and protection and happiness, at least that. And I say, what are you grateful for today? She said, the lollipop or the popsicle. So it's nice. It's a nice way to reset the brain from all this crazy world we're living in.
Yeah. So I remember sitting at a Lyme fundraising dinner. I was sitting between you and Yolanda Hadid, and we all discussed how we had shared so many common challenges on our Lyme journeys. Are you a supportive advocate for other celebrities or friends who have struggles with tick-borne diseases?
Well, anybody that I'm put in touch with or who calls me, I'll always support and encourage. And if they need any guidance, I will always answer the phone and call people back around that topic, because I just know how hard and lonely it was. But Yolanda and I have remained very close throughout this period, and she's my girl. She's really cool. She's a really cool woman. I look up to her as a mother too.
Do you have advice for people out there who are struggling with recovery from tick-borne diseases?
Yes, I think you have to form a really strong relationship with yourself, and learn how to love yourself and show up for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's you. You're the one that's going to be responsible for showing up to the appointments, taking the medicine, doing the gratitude list, putting the healthy food into your body. And at the end of the day, it's we have to be our own advocates. And so finding that strength within ourselves to fight against a really complicated disease, I found that I had to sort of access that warrior within myself, and it was challenging at times to do that. But the stronger that relationship becomes within yourself, and the more you sort of thank yourself for showing up for yourself, that is the most important relationship that you'll bring with you for the rest of your life, even if when you're not sick. So at the end of the day, all you have is you. And that's the best advice I can give. And just try your best. And sometimes your best is just getting up and eating food and going back to bed. And that's okay while you're healing.
Have you used your celebrity status to try to move forward the needle on Lyme funding for research and diagnostics and therapeutics?
Absolutely. I went down to Washington, D.C. a few years ago to pass a bill, for the U.S. government to provide more funding for Lyme disease research and awareness. So that was something I was incredibly proud of. Besides writing my book, my book Bite Me. I didn't. I knew it would help a lot of people. I didn't know how many people it would help and affect, and it's incredibly humbling, and it's just like such a dream come true. I mean, I could just die tomorrow happy knowing that I put that out there so vulnerably, because I did not hold back and I really just let my story be told the way it was, because I knew that somebody out there would be able to relate and not feel so alone, or somebody out there who had no idea about Lyme disease would become a little bit more aware and educated and maybe less judgmental toward a friend or colleague that or a family member who's sick, because I know it can be really hard for the people around the Lyme patient to deal with the illness. Some days you're great, some days you're on, and some days you're not. And it can be really confusing for those around you. So I think the work that I do in terms of speaking to research groups or colleges and universities, I love doing public speaking, around the book, but around Lyme disease, because I think that if you can just affect one or two people in the audience, then that could become a ripple effect.
Ali, can you share a little bit about your Lyme and Babesia experience starting from when you were 7 and you were bitten by a tick?
Yes, I was bitten by a tick at 7 years old, and my mother removed the tick and brought it to the town hall to be tested. The results came back, as inconclusive, and that was confusing for us. So we went on, and I suffered from a lot of joint pain, and when I was in about first or second grade, and it was just regarded as growing pains. And as time went on, I became ill with strep throat several times, a lot of chronic headaches, a lot of fatigue, and then it started going with my memory issues. Again, a lot of joint pain. That was the main symptom for me, especially in my hips and in my knees. And when I went through adolescence, I went through a varied number of symptoms, including nausea, panic attacks, but again, just an immense amount of joint pain. And we didn't know what it was. I was misdiagnosed with MS at one point, with fibromyalgia, with rheumatoid arthritis, and just no one had an answer for me. And so finally, a psychiatrist was putting the pieces together and noted that it may in fact be Lyme disease. And I said, well, no, I've been tested for Lyme disease. And it came because I'd been tested a couple of times over the course of 12 years. And they came back as borderline. which just was, the doctors explained it as, your levels aren't quite high enough for us to legally say that you have it. I didn't know what that meant, so I just walked away with a diagnosis of fibromyalgia or possible MS and just was okay with that. And I didn't really know what to do. I just thought I would have to live through the pain. And so when this doctor put things together, I said, no, 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 I've been tested for Lyme disease. It couldn't be that. Just know the testing isn't very accurate. So there are some doctors that can take the blood levels and look into your blood a little bit more thoroughly. So I took her advice, went and saw Dr. Stephen Phillips, and my blood levels for Lyme disease were off the charts. And he had also noticed that I had a co-infection called babesia, which is similar to malaria, which explained a lot of the night sweats and all of that. And I thought that was the end of the story. And unfortunately, I really did. I thought I was so relieved. I was so excited. I was thrilled to, get on a treatment program, get this behind me and be done. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I went through over 10 years of intense Lyme treatments from the time when I was 19 years old up until I was 29 years old when I got pregnant with our daughter. And I've done a couple of little treatments, just like tune-ups since then. But overall, it was just a really grueling journey and really took a toll on me physically more than anything. Of course, mentally, emotionally, and all of that. But my body was so beaten down by not only the untreated Lyme disease, untreated and undiagnosed Lyme disease for over 12 years, but then it also went under a lot of difficulty through a lot of the antibiotic treatments that I went and took because it's all we knew of at the time. And I eventually turned to homeopathy after years of antibiotic treatment, both orally and intravenously. And ultimately, I think a combination of the both of homeopathy, Eastern medicine, as well as Western medicine was ultimately what healed me the most. But it was a very confusing and long, annoying road, very, very challenging at times. But I'm really grateful to be where I am today.
There are so many celebrities who are suffering, who've been public, Alec Baldwin and Justin Bieber and Shania Twain and Avril Lavigne. So we're really grateful that you're willing to speak out. Have you been criticized for speaking about a disease that is considered, for whatever reason, controversial?
Probably. I've been criticized for so much, the way that my show is edited, the title of the show, The Rich Girls, which I never wanted the name of the show to be that. I mean, I've been criticized my whole life for whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling my truth and my experience, and nobody can argue with that. They can be as judgmental or critical as they want, but that's not the people who I'm not doing it for those people. I don't care about those people. I care about the people who are in their bedroom suffering, hearing my story, that it's helping them get out of bed that day. That's who I care about. So criticize all you want. If that's what I have to deal with in order to help the other people who are sick, then I'll take it. It doesn't affect me.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you too. It was so wonderful to meet you, and I've learned a lot from you as well. I love texting you and being like, what do you think of this?
Well, it's a small Lyme crew here. In addition to the pharmaceuticals that you took for your treatment and the integrative complementary therapies like supplements and Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, I know that saunas were a really important part of your detoxification process, right?
Yes, that's right. So far infrared saunas are incredibly helpful. Just the way that they get into the cells. And also self-massage to drain your lymphatic system was really wonderful.
Exercise accomplishes some of that detoxification because you're sweating and you're moving your lymphatic system. And so, but if you're sick, you can't exercise, then sauna can be a passive way to sweat, and then lymphatic massage can be a passive way to get your lymphatic system moving, and that's integral to your immune system. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, I did not, to be honest, have any energy to exercise. It was bad. Like I just didn't at all. And I wish that I had. Like I know some parents of people who have kids who have Lyme disease would like force their kids on the treadmill just to like get the, and I just wouldn't. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. So the far infrared sauna was really really helpful. You can get a portable one. I love the sunlight and saunas are really great.
That's good to know. And how did you work on your sleep during that time of?
Gosh, the sleep, Leah. The sleep was like, it was so hit or miss. It was so on or off. So melatonin was good. I mean, again, like meditation was good, but it was just hit or miss. It really was.
Yeah.
And also I really switched up the shampoos and lotions I was using as well, because our skin is the largest organ and it's important to know like what you're putting into your head. So I switched to all natural remedies for a really long time, which helped inform the products I would use during pregnancy as well, because I was all natural during pregnancy.
That's great.
And I think pregnancy is actually something important to talk about. I when I became pregnant, I was a little frantic and nervous, like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to pass it on to the baby. And they're like, no, 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 you have. I mean, you're more likely to pass on Lyme if you have acute Lyme. But I did not. I was in remission enough that there was really slim to none chance of me passing on Lyme. And she's perfectly healthy. We've taken blood tests and everything, and she's a little spitfire, so I don't have to worry, thank God. But that was something I was also very concerned about in the beginning.
How soon after you had finished treatment did you get pregnant?
About a year after.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And your energy was okay when she was young?
Well, to be honest with you, it was really a lot of work. I mean, and it is, it's just a lot of work. But I think I like hijacked my husband's parents for 3 weeks. You're not leaving our house. And we had a housekeeper who helped around the house, which was really helpful. But Steve was like the full-time baby nurse. And I did have the placenta freeze dried into little capsules, and I took that to replenish my hormones. But it's exhausting. I think just any parent just understands that it's just exhausting.
Yeah, it
And
is.
and that's another reason how like Ayurvedic treatments and diet and stress levels and the knowledge around that and asking for help, that was very useful during the first few years of motherhood. That was very useful.
One of the big gifts of having one of these diseases is learning to ask for help.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It really is. It's a huge, huge element that we all struggle with in life, no matter what. And we also just like want to put on a game face. I did. I wanted to be okay. And if I didn't feel well, I didn't want people to know. I wanted to be, strong and well and, there. I wanted to live my life. But I didn't want to feel weak at all. But I did have to learn how to ask for help. Like when I came home with like a trough of antibiotics and different treatments, I was really overwhelmed by it. And I didn't know how to physically organize all of the antibiotics and pills and scheduling them. And you couldn't have dairy with this one. You had to have this one 1 hour before you ate, and all of these. I was very confused. So I called up a friend who was a mother. I was not a mother at the time, who was a mother to 2 children, who was very organized. And I said, like, here are the instructions from the doctor. Here are all of the medicines. I don't know what to do. And she gave me this like basket system and put everything into baskets and like wrote the times and like helped me create a schedule, which I was just totally incapable of doing. So I think, knowing the strengths in your friends and your family members is so key. I
That's
knew that my mom was somebody who like makes me laugh and was very lighthearted and fun. So she came with me to certain, like when they had to put the IV into my arm, into my heart, she came with me to that. And, made me laugh and put on the Beatles and dance, and so I think you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your family and friends and be very selective of who you call when, and pick up the phone.
I think that's such a pearl of wisdom, and your own strengths and weaknesses as well.
Well, that's something that I have a hard time with, really admitting I'm a person that I really have a hard time saying no. And I overcommit myself, and I'm a person who stacks my schedule, and I like to feel like I'm superwoman because I love doing a lot. I love being busy. I love being creative. And I have a little bit of a hard time like understanding what balance means in life and scheduling. So it's something I'm working on, and I'm working on listening to my body and saying, I'm a little tired right now. It's okay to cancel. And I don't like to cancel on things. I don't like to not show up. And sometimes I just have to. And that's okay.
It's a hard lesson, but an important one, and good to role model for your daughter.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's actually a good motivator.
I know we talked before about you cleaned up your diet, you gave up alcohol and cigarettes and caffeine, and you started eating really cleanly and doing meditation and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about how that was pivotal in your recovery?
Absolutely. So after about 6 or 7 years or so of being on the antibiotics and everything and not really understanding what it meant that it was so important to have a really healthy diet, I was always incorporating meditating, but not in a way where I dove into it as much. When I was 25 years old, I decided to fully commit myself to a treatment, which included a very intense and long bout of detoxing, which means you're on a detox diet. You take detoxifying homeopathics and vitamins, as well as colonics and saunas. I also felt it was important to detox my mind and my environment. So I wasn't watching the news. I wasn't watching any violent television shows or movies. I cut out a lot of negative people in my life. I only had a very small group of friends that were just very, wholly healed humans who weren't negative. And I also got really into meditating, which I think helped tremendously on my path to wellness. It was a couple of years into that commitment that I started doing different writing exercises and breathing exercises along with yoga. I knew yoga helped though, because I started practicing yoga with my dad at 15 years old. He was going through a really difficult time separating from my mother, and I was really in a lot of physical pain with my joints. And he said, listen, I know this guy who teaches Ashtanga yoga. And we started practicing it, and it really alleviated the joint pain tremendously. So I just stuck to it. I really did. I stuck to it, and I tried different types of alternative treatments, such as Ayurvedic remedies. I did like a 7-day panchakarma with a really incredible doctor upstate New York. After that, I felt that I had really crossed a major hurdle. And I think it was because of the balance that, I mean, the 7-day program was like, you eat extremely clean. You have meditation teachers come in every day and doing meditating and yoga. And there's just, I think that personally, the balance of it all is really important. And I didn't know about that when I was 19 years old and taking a basket full of different pharmaceuticals. I didn't know that you're supposed to take acidophilus that was refrigerated on an empty stomach, and drink green juice and not eat cereal, drink Diet Coke, and smoke Marlboro Lights. I just didn't know. And so when I learned about all of these things, I just noticed what a difference it made in my energy levels. This experience has given me an arsenal of tools that I like to share with people that are suffering.
What do you keep up with now, even though you are mostly recovered?
What I keep up with now, I do a lot of meditating still. I also manage my stress levels a lot, and I listen to my body. I'm a really clean and healthy eater. However, I don't have to be so extreme about it anymore. I can definitely eat what I want when I want it, but a very whole, healthy, organic eater. I'm not vegan or vegetarian or gluten free. I just I know where my meat is coming from, and I have it more rarely. And I eat mostly vegetarian, but I'll have a piece of free range chicken. It's like, or sushi. It's not like the end of the world, and a bowl of pasta when I'm craving it. And I'm really grateful that my body's able to handle that now, because before it really wasn't. I keep up on listening to myself, I think, the most, and really having that noticing of the subtleties in my body when, I feel a little limey, I call it, whether it's the my memory acting up, or being really fatigued and not being able to get the words out, or joint pain, muscle fatigue. I just say, okay, I'll just do a little fruit and vegetable detox for a couple of days. So that's a nice little reset. And I do yoga when I can. And I've actually been jogging in the past year and a half since the pandemic started. I've been jogging, and that's been really cool because I never really thought my joints could handle it. And now they can. So that's been fun.
So do you feel like you are recovered, or do you feel like you have a persistent infection, or that your immune system might be damaged from the infection and it's just something you have to maintain carefully?
I like to believe that I'm recovered. I think it's important also to the language that we use is very important. So I choose to believe that I'm recovered. I know that I'm also sensitive because of the years of stress on my body from the disease and the treatment. So I'm aware of that. I do truly believe that I'm in deep remission from Lyme disease. But I am also aware that my immune system is a little bit more sensitive than other people's. And I'm a little bit more like I'm not one of those people who can like be okay if I stay up until 3 in the morning. I have to like sleep the whole day the next day. I'm more sensitive. So I do realize that.
And what do you do for tick bite prevention for your daughter and for yourself?
So I actually put TikTok Naturals, which is a really wonderful essential oil based insect repellent, which is extremely effective. I put that all over her body and her skin. And then I put white, usually just white or light colored leggings with socks tucked in. And then over the clothes, I do a quick little spray of off, or a DEET based insect repellent. And then I do a tick check and a bath every time she comes, in from the outdoors. But I try to let her. I mean, she's a 6-year-old kid. She loves being in nature. She's tick aware, and
Right.
I also educate her. I think educating children is really smart. So we have little, the No Good Icky Tick book, or these little cute children's books, and just so that she understands, like, why is mommy pouring oil all over me? Why are we taking a bath when scrubbing and checking everywhere? I mean, it's just good to have her be aware of it too. That way she might see something that I don't.
Right.
She's tick savvy, but I don't choose to live in fear either. I still want her to run around and be a kid, and she's in a bathing suit running in the grass. Like, I just make sure she's sprayed and I check her.
Do you have any last words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, I think, everybody's situation is so unique and so different. I think you need to really find a roadmap which works for you. And the one sort of piece of advice that I'll give that I think is really helpful is identifying a group of people, very small group of people in your life who you choose and communicate with, to choose to be your like Lyme army. So if you're the warrior, you kind of need a little army around you to help support you through your journey, because it can be really grueling and really ugly and scary and sad. And it's just good to have a group of people who will keep you on that track and keep you uplifted. So I do think it's important to identify those individuals and to have a clear communication with them, and to just do your best. And that gratitude list really does do something special.
And that group of people might be online. It might be fellow
Totally.
Lyme patients online, even if, if you're home alone.
That person might be listening to Eckhart Tolle. It doesn't matter. I mean, humans that you can call up are great to have in that group, but one or two things might be a podcast that you listen to that helps you, or a musician that makes you feel more uplifted and gives you a little bit of energy. And I think creating a little toolbox for yourself is really helpful.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Ticktective podcast and video series, Ali Hilfiger.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Ticktective podcast and video series, a program of the Bay Area Lyme Foundation. You can find out more or donate at bayarealyme.org.